Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have a liftoff.
What's up, Doom Nation? Welcome back. You were listening to another episode of the Two Doom Men podcast. As always, it's Skaggs and yours truly, the Captain. It's a little quiet of a week, but we got some stories to talk about. You want to share what's going on today?
Yeah, sure. Captain wanted to check in with Bud Light, Anheuser, InBev. Some news coming out of there, as you guys may well know. The The boycott is still going on. The protest, whatever
the complete demise of this great American company,
this great American beer is down in the drain. So we'll kind of give a little bit of update on that. You wanted to talk a bit, Cap, too, about the Biden crime family stuff with maybe Devon Archer. Last week, we said last week, we were like, oh, we're going to just choose to talk about Trump because there's not enough time. But we kind of got some time this week, so it's been a little bit quiet. So, yeah, we'll circle back, as Jen Psaki would say, and cover that.
Yeah, we could talk about Biden, and then you want to talk about Africa. Some interesting things going on down there.
Yeah, there's some interesting stuff going on in Africa, and I feel like we should cover it because it could be something in the future that most people probably won't cover now. So we're going to get ahead of the game.
We do like our receipts.
Yes. So go ahead, man. What do you want to talk about, Bud Light? Let's go.
Give us the goods. We have been following the Bud Light Go Woke, Go Broke saga, and they recently just fired like 100 executives from the company. Sales are down. Today, they just announced that they were selling, which is a Canadian cannabis company. They sold
Tilray.
Tilray. They sold like 8 or 9 different beers from Anheuser-Busch for an undisclosed cash amount.
No, it's actually disclosed. It's actually disclosed.
So you found out?
It's actually $85 million. They're buying a couple brands from Anheuser-Busch InBev.
Yeah. Shock Top's one of them. That's the biggest one I noticed out of the group. But man, just did the marketing woman that came up with this whole idea for Dylan Mulvaney, and that she thought it was a good idea to get away from the frat boy drinking image, has decimated a legacy
of the frat boy.
A legacy corporation, man. Fucking amazing. You have an article. I got an article from Fox.
I'm gonna have a Modelo. I'm gonna drink it.
There you go, pal. It's the #1 selling beer this summer.
Before we also get into all that too, I just want to mention right here, I finally got the Conservative Dad's Ultra Right. What is it called? The Conservative Dad's Ultra Right 100% woke free American beer.
Yep.
Took about 4 months almost to get this in the mail.
That's how in demand they are.
Yeah, it was in my driveway. There was a little tiny box on my driveway. I was like, what the fuck is that? And I opened it. I'm like, holy shit, I forgot we even ordered this. So at some point in the future, I'm not drinking any of these today. We're gonna hold these for the future.
Yeah.
When the captain gets up here in person, we'll do a good doomed review and have some fun.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Conservative Dad's beer. So you want to read your article first?
Yeah, let's go. Just think of that this guy, he came up with a beer just based on what happened with Bud Light and Dylan Mulvaney, and he is now back ordered 4 months.
Yeah, that's actually a sign of the times and a sign of the marketplace kind of working, almost to the point where, it almost is proof in of itself that this protest is actually working to some extent.
Yeah. The woke war is losing.
Yeah. I don't know how feasible it's going to be to drink, or how good this is, or how feasible is it going to be. Like, dude, this is going to be everywhere. I doubt it. Like, it takes a long time to scale up a new company and manufacture things. But that's kind of some proof in of itself. So let's get into it with your article here. Captain did some research today. He brought an article himself. I'm proud of you, buddy.
So we finally actually have an apology, but he's just the heir to Anheuser-Busch. I don't think he's like a CEO or anything.
Billy Bush.
So Billy Bush says his ancestors would be rolling over in their graves over Dylan Mulvaney ad. I don't have access to scroll it down, right?
No, it's me.
Yeah,
But
okay.
okay,
All right.
I'll time it. Yeah, Captain's doing the reading today, folks. So bear with us.
I'm not reading the whole thing. There's just
Okay.
the beginning, and then we'll go down to where they their percentages of what they've lost so far. Anheuser-Busch heir Billy Bush made a stunning admission on the company's controversial ad campaign with transgender activist Dylan Mulvaney, saying the decision was a huge mistake and sales continue to suffer. Bush joined Hannity on Monday to discuss his take on the controversy and why he believes the ad would have his ancestors rolling over in their graves. Funny to think, this happened in like the spring, right?
Yeah, it's been a couple months now, man.
It's been a few
I guess
months
you could look
now,
back to our Bud Light episode. That's around when it started. Yeah.
They are paying the price, and I think the company greatly miscalculated what they thought was being inclusive, but it really was divisive. Bush told Hannity, I think my family they lived by the motto, making friends is our business. And they believed that bringing people together makes it a sociable, fun, beer drinking experience was the way to go. But people that drank Bud Light, that drink beer, really don't relate to that kind of advertising. So it was a huge mistake, he continued.
Hang on. He says that the motto was making friends is our business, and they believe that bringing people together, making it sociable, fun, beer drinking experience was the way to go, and that people don't relate to that kind of advertising.
No, beer drinkers don't relate to that kind. He's still trying to put beer drinkers in a bad light.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean,
bigoted
that's not
group.
True.
Yeah.
I only really drink when I hang out with you guys, to be honest with you. Like I'm a social drinker. I don't drink really like on a Tuesday for no reason.
Yeah.
So that's just not true. And the original marketing lady, she was on record, and this is part of the thing as well. We're talking about frat boys, like putting down frat boy culture and things like that, and saying like, oh, we don't want those people as our customers anymore. And look, say what you want about frat boy culture. It's all around being social. Right, like a frat club is essentially a social.
It's a social club,
and you drink and you party and you have a good time and you talk to people and you do crazy shit. So that's
and
just
you
not
also
true.
you also bring something around $400 million to this ginormous company. Yeah. So Bud Light faced intense criticism after announcing in the spring that it was partnering with Mulvaney in a campaign aimed at inclusiveness that included Mulvaney's face on special Bud Light cans, which a company spokesperson previously said were not for sale to the general public.
It's just one can.
Anheuser-Busch, Bud Light's parent company, lost billions in market values after that partnership. So let's scroll down. This is all basically everything we've been saying. Okay, here we go. A second quarter report of Anheuser-Busch revealed that the brewing company's revenue in the U.S. dipped by 10%, which is a loss of $400 million. And its sales in the U.S. Retails declined by 14% compared to the previous year. So they are just getting the floor mopped with them. Next line, Anheuser-Busch said in recent statements that it plans to lay off hundreds of U.S. corporate employees as financial fallout continues. Really, not much more to this. Everything we already know, we've talked about. Those are the points I wanted to make. But this retaliation, this boycott is working, and it needs to set, I hope other corporations are picking up what is taking place here.
Yeah, it is interesting too, because you're seeing kind of like market forces still work, where we kind of have been discussing this, like, is the ESG access to capital behind the Federal Reserve scam like more important to corporations now than them actually having to like market a product and then you buy it? Like they've kind of been shying away from that nowadays and kind of like, well, we have the government behind us and this is what they want, so this is what we're going to do, and then whatever, we don't give a shit if we don't like actually make sales numbers. But this kind of proves that people still do have power in the marketplace. Like if you don't buy something, a corporation still is kind of beholden to that. The Federal Reserve and that whole ESG BlackRock scam does not necessarily control everything yet.
Right. We still have power to fight it.
Yeah.
Apparently like Disneyland has been empty this summer.
Yeah. And
I'm not down there. I don't know for sure, but these woke brands are taking a beating.
Yeah. Look, I know they've had a hard time. Like they had to close the Galactic Star Cruiser hotel there in the Star Wars thing. I'm like, why? Because it wasn't that popular and it was really expensive at the same time. Like, you can't just, it's not going to work. I was thinking about this because the article I had was saying how they sold, these bunch of kind of like side brands to Tilray, which is a cannabis company, for 85 million. That's kind of just a drop in the bucket, 85 million.
Yeah.
So I think what they've done here with, like, raising 85 million by selling off a couple other brands, my guess is they've tried to buy a little bit more time. That's my guess. Like, they sold a bunch of brands that really don't give a shit about. They're not flagship brands. They get an influx of $85 billion.
These were pawns. Yeah.
Yeah. And now they could maybe buy another quarter, right? Like, they could, let's see, maybe in another quarter, they're betting on, we do a little public relations. Maybe people forget. And maybe we could kind of try and salvage Bud Light. Because I was really thinking about it. What is, like, 9 other brands like, they're just 9 other random brands, you know what I mean? But, like, at the end of the day, Bud Light is still Bud Light. Like, if you're a big company and you can create one of, like, these staple light beers that's in every corner of every bar, stadium, restaurant, like
bodega,
it's, once you have that product, you don't want to they're not going to just, like, scrap Bud Light as much as conservatives think they are. They're not. They're going to try every trick.
The whole company.
They might have to. They might just lose, but they're not going to just scrap it. You don't just scrap Chevrolet and Ford. You know what I mean? Like, you try every trick in the book you can to fix it or salvage it. That could be what they're doing here. They're buying themselves some time by selling off shit that they don't really need.
Yeah, which is also funny in hindsight, because if anything we've learned is that people don't do their research. So people have probably been buying Shock Top and all those other beers that they sold off, not knowing that Anheuser-Busch even owned them. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, like, they still might have been making so, like, people, like, the majority of people aren't buying Budweiser and Bud Light. We've looked into, like, what they own, and
we did
really, I'm pretty sure we don't drink anything that they make. Maybe still don't know if Big Wave or Kona is owned by them or not.
Yeah, I mean, they're such a gigantic company.
That's the other thing.
So
it's
many
huge.
Different brands. Again, this goes back to what I'm saying before. Like, they can afford to get rid of a couple of these other.
And they could probably afford to get rid of 5-6 more. You know, if they had to,
That's the way I look at it. To them, it almost is more beneficial to try and save Bud Light, just because that is everywhere. Like,
weather out the storm and people forget.
Yeah, exactly. They're trying. You know, again, they're hedging their bet. I don't know. Go to, like, any bar or, like, again, a stadium. Like, they have Bud Light contracts with stadiums. I don't know if it's still true to this day, but I remember back in the day, like, our buddy Chris, the Trash King, he used to work at Yankee Stadium, and he said that there was, like, 3 water lines to the stadium: hot water, cold water, and then there was a beer line, and the beer line was literally Bud Light. So I think they had, like, a pipeline.
I'm sure,
beer being fed into the stadium. Like, that's a lot of infrastructure and investment to just be like, you know what, fuck it, let's give up on this product.
Right, but a place like Yankee Stadium can always switch. The infrastructure is there. So, you know what I mean? Like, Yankee Stadium's still going to get their beer, but Budweiser, Anheuser-Busch still has a lot left that they could lose. And I hope they do. I hope they do. I want to crush these people. We've
I just want someone to pay. Someone needs to pay for something. We don't know exactly what it is, but something. Yeah.
We have sat quietly for so long. Everybody could say, January 6th, but nobody listening to this show believes that was an actual insurrection. I just want to see someone go down in flames, because you know what I mean? Like, and we didn't have to go static. We didn't have to use the Second Amendment and march on to the factory and, burn it down and drag the employees out. We did it peacefully, quietly, and we wrecked them.
Use the power of the free markets to possibly get a W in the culture war.
Yep.
On the win side.
So Doom Nation, we will update you with anything else that happens in this Bud Light saga, where we are now canceling the woke. So the pendulum
is
swung. That's a good
way to put it, right? We're canceling the woke.
Yeah, the pendulum is swung. Hopefully we can take down Disney.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I think Disney's doing a good job at taking themselves down just because the product they've put out has been so poor.
I think they're just planning on slowing down altogether. They know they're going in the wrong track.
And that was to be, I think that's actually, even if it wasn't bad, they need to slow down. Like, too many Marvel things, too many Star Wars things.
Yeah,
like
but
oversaturation of the market. I think it's a factor of all those things. It's too much stuff, plus too much political content in it. Too many messages that like parents are not going to like towards children.
It's getting ridiculous. Like the new Snow White, she's not, Snow White was called Snow White because she had the fairest skin of them all. They don't have a white chick as Snow White.
I think that's not even as egregious as the dwarves are.
Yes, that's what I was going to get to.
Yeah.
They're not dwarfs. They're just 7 different ethnically race people.
Yeah,
and I don't think there's a prince in the movie either, because the princess don't need no man to save her.
I wonder if they only put one actual little person, like one actual dwarf, in the movie, because I've read lately that like Hollywood and like the SAG. Like the all that stuff has like very strict like hiring quotas nowadays, where like if you want to be considered for an award, you have to have like this many white people, this many black people, this many like little people. And I think the number for little people is like 1. So I wonder if they're just like literally like, fuck it, we're just gonna just do the 1. Like, I don't know. It's bizarre. Yeah. A movie that's like, one of the focal points, one of the most memorable characters from the movie are the dwarves.
And completely rewriting the story. Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's not going to be successful movie.
Nope. It's going to be another flop for him.
Yeah. I know you want to pivot to Biden crime family, see what's going on over there,
sir.
Buddy?
Yes, sir.
I made a couple of clips. Perhaps we could play some of those for the fans.
Let's go for it. So for everyone who doesn't know, which you should know if you're following us and you're part of this community, one of Hunter's business partners blew the whistle, and now apparently this guy Sherwin, I believe, is next on the chopping block. He might be able to blow the whistle, and he's considered the Biden's money guy, as they've been calling him, dealing with all the family's finances. So how did Biden buy that big house in Delaware on a senator's salary and then a VP's?
Do that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's also
a lot of insider trading, a lot of under the table deals, and it's ridiculous, the circus that it's not ridiculous. We've been dealing with this for years now. What the media has been, just so dismissive. There's still people who will tell you the Biden laptop from hell was fake. We know it's real, and they'll still say it's fake. They say, Biden says, I never had any of these business dealings. He was on 20 calls. He was at dinners.
Yeah.
And the media will just dismiss that. It's wild to see like just how far they're willing to go. Because the second like they can't get out of it anymore, everyone's going to change their tune.
Yeah, of course. And I think that's also probably why Gavin Newsom's running a shadow campaign in the background. He's also going to be like debating Ron DeSantis soon.
I have a interesting thing that I will talk about later about Newsom.
So let's like dig in here. Last week, it's also again suspicious that like the day before this guy testifies. I'm sorry, the day after is the day that they do the Trump second Trump indictment.
And they've done it 3-4 times now.
Yeah, we covered that last week. So Devon Archer, he testified actually what's suspicious in of itself to a closed door meeting in Congress. And he's like a Biden whistleblower who worked with Hunter. Now, had we gone into this the time we did last week, we would not have had the full interview by Tucker with Devon Archer, right? Which I watched from start to finish, the entire thing, because I was at work. I watched most of it. Watched the entire thing. Made 2 clips of it. I'm gonna play one for you guys. Tucker's interview with him came out after, like literally 2 days after. So after the testimony and then after the Trump indictment. So I feel like it almost kind of got a little bit overshadowed by everything going on, even where Tucker's interview gets way more into what happened than obviously when they came out of the closed door hearings. The Republicans say, we got him, it's everything. And the Democrats are saying it's absolutely nothing. So, but then again, like we couldn't see because we weren't there. So how are we supposed to see? So I highly recommend everybody watch the interview here of Tucker did. It's on his Twitter page. It's called Devon Archer. So I'm going to go to our TikTok. Don't forget to follow us there. And we'll watch one of the clips of Devon being questioned by Tucker here.
Do you have knowledge that Hunter spoke to his dad about Burisma?
Do I have knowledge?
Yes. Do you know that Hunter spoke to his dad about Burisma? Did you ever see them talk about it, hear them talk about it? Was Joe Biden?
No, I don't have knowledge of that, though I'd assume it.
You would assume it.
Right. I would assume it in a general sense of travel and that kind of thing. But on, like I've told a lot of people in the past, there was not business content conversations. It was the idea of signals and influence. The prize is enough in speaking or hearing or knowing that you have that proximity to power. No
There's
one
that
is
word knowing again.
so unsophisticated that's been in politics for 50 years that Hunter is going to talk about the last quarter's how many billion cubic meters of gas we pumped out of the ground. So it's just, I think a lot of the narrative gets caught up on over speculation of these conspiracy theories that are just not true. I think
that's not the way it actually works.
It just doesn't work like that.
So it's enough to be sitting at a meal at Lake Como with your new Ukrainian friends, and your dad happens to call. Let's put him on speaker.
That would be that's. I think that's enough. That's the second most powerful man in the world. It's just how the world works.
All right, so if you. Again, like if we were in the closed door meeting, it kind of sounds almost like bad for everyone.
Biden didn't say anything.
He didn't say anything, right? But I watched the whole thing, and this guy, Devon Archer, really laid out how this world works. And to his credit, like he stresses that point over and over again. It's like, yeah, for the most part, I don't know, like you don't like outright on a call be like, hey, Dad, I need your help with this corrupt thing I'm doing. So why don't you also do
There's $20 million in
it
for you. Yeah.
It's very much so. And to Devon Archer's credit here, this is what he said. He agrees. He says, like, they send signals, he references, right? Like you being Hunter Biden, you're on a phone call with guys from Burisma and they need a favor from you. And you then call your dad and you'd be like, hey, Pop, how you doing? Look, I'm here talking with two guys from Burisma. Hey guys, how you doing? How's the weather? Right? And they never actually discuss any specifics of what's going on, but the signal is sent, right? It's real mafia style shit.
Well, yeah, I 100% agree. And this is why people dismiss this. Oh, Biden didn't do anything because they're not going to talk about that signal. But I put it like this. You have meetings at work, right, Skaggs? Okay, and some of those meetings are with what you do at work. Some of those meetings are uncomfortable, right?
Sure, of course. That's the nature of meetings.
Yes, if in the middle of an uncomfortable meeting, you called your dad, put it on speakerphone, would it change anything? Would everybody be like, "Oh, you know what, Skaggs, you're fucking right. I'm sorry, we're wrong." Do you think that would happen if your dad was on? Because I know if I called my dad during a meeting, I'd probably get fired, one. And two, he ain't going to change the outcome of the meeting.
Right. So I was going to say, my dad's a butcher, so it probably won't influence any meeting I have at work because people are not going to give a fuck. But I'm going to gather to say if my father was vice president of the United States of America, it might have an impact on whatever it was I was talking about in the meeting.
It's now an oh shit moment, right?
Yeah.
They're, Hunter's negotiating. They're talking business. They need one favor for another. Ukraine's trying to take a little advantage. You know what? We'll solve this real quick. Hold on. Ring, ring. Hey, boys, how's the weather over there? It would shame if it starts raining today, huh?
Right.
And the message is sent.
Exactly. It's about sending a message. Nothing needs to specifically be said. And I think that's what Devon Archer's getting to the crux of here, which is like, oh, sometimes the conspiracy stuff is like too over the top, where I think he's referring to like the fact that people are saying like that they're getting into such heavy specifics. A lot of the time people are probably wrong. Right. It doesn't necessarily need to be said. All that it takes is a phone call. If Hunter Biden,
don't forget, he also sat down at dinners with these people. He's met with them in the White House, outside the White House, had communications with. He sent Devon a letter. Oh, sorry, I couldn't come meet with you. I was in a meeting with the president of China.
Yeah. And let's be real here. Like, the area that we're talking about is not like an innocent area.
Right.
Like, I don't know, like if now Hunter's into like painting, right? So if he was like, I don't know, dealing with another art dealer and then he calls up his dad to try and like lean on him, I'm like, yeah, like it could be corrupt, but like, I don't know, it's paint.
Well, he's
like
selling
we're
all
talking
his
about here,
paintings
like
to China.
What I'm saying here, like what we were dealing with here and what the phone calls were with was with Burisma and Ukraine, the place that's in war right now. And we're funding, to the tune of over $100 billion. And the fact that Hunter was over there in the years following the coup and the whole, there's like geopolitical aspects of Burisma and Ukraine. Like, this is in the political wheelhouse. This isn't in the arts and crafts wheelhouse where like using your dad, who's vice president, to get some leverage is like not that important. No, this is in the political wheelhouse that he's using dad, or at least like the specter of dad, to get his way in a business dealing, or to send a message to someone, and let's just not forget 10% to the big guy, the emails. Who's the big guy? Like, obviously,
we're not stupid. Yeah.
I don't know, fucking, sue me, I guess, now, because I'm making I'm drawing a conclusion.
They're going to hide whatever they could hide to keep the narrative for as long as they can. At the beginning of COVID, it was blasphemy to say that it was, leaked from a lab. And now it's widely accepted that it was leaked from a lab. So right now they just need Biden to deny. He wasn't involved. He wasn't the big guy. And then, however long it takes for this incident to blow over or whatever, when it's all said and done and Hunter got a plea deal, or he's only going to serve 5 years in a penitentiary or something, then it's okay to be like, yeah, no, well, Biden actually did do this, he's out of office now, or whatever. Or on top of it, they'll just all of a sudden they'll start playing the dementia card. He's not going to be able to give a statement or anything like that. He's going to have to leave the White House. And then once he's out of the White House, this all goes away. Away. I feel like there's a big fail safe here where if it really push comes to shove and they just get exposed too much, Biden has dementia. He doesn't remember. We have to impeach him. He's out of office, and then it all falls away.
Biden is like the perfect puppet president, right? And like, let's be real, like Biden is not the evil genius behind all the problems that ail the world right now, right? It's like the deep state, the uniparty, whoever's
He's
like
merely a puppet. Yeah.
Whoever's like in the CIA, like think tank lab where they're cooking up the most despicable shit you could possibly think of. That's who's behind it. Like, if we can kind of understand the whole thing behind what their corruption is, like, you don't think that the deep state knows? Like, of course they know, right? And this is something that they could just hold over his head. And like right now, they're trying to help him, like sweep that under the rug where they can, wherever they can. But if they wanted to, they could just easily flip on the turn of a dime, right? Like if he no longer suits their interests in a way that they seem fit, like, of course they could just be like, hey, look, hey, buddy, we know everything, obviously. Forget about the two doomed men and their whole breakdown of your corruption. The deep state knows the worst. And then they could just put that out there. You'll know Biden is done or they've turned on him when the corporate press starts really covering this and starts talking about it negatively and says, look, like, maybe there was something to this all along and blah, blah, blah. But right now they're they're in like cover mode where they're like, look, Biden was just a good dad who liked to talk to his son 20 times in the like, they're treating like a fucking idiot, like anyone does. Like you're saying before, like, imagine if you
what's funny though,
in a meeting 20 times.
What's funny though is, they are indicting Trump for knowing he lost the election. He knew he has no chance to truly believe that he won. He's wrong if he believes it. He knows he lost. But on the other hand here, we're really going to believe that Biden didn't know it was a business call. He didn't know why he was being called. He didn't know what signals were being sent. You know what I'm saying? He didn't know that his opinion on the weather, may it be, held any weight in these business dealings.
In a sense, like it's all of that is actually very subjective, right? Like as much as we want to use as an argument, like we could like, to be honest with you, we don't know if maybe Biden really is that retarded that he really didn't know any of this stuff, right? But they are actually using that as the defense. They're simultaneously trying to convict Trump for knowing, right? When like, what is knowing exactly? Like they said, people telling him something was him, knowing, therefore he's guilty. Like he doesn't have his own opinion. Like they're trying to convict Trump based around the fact that they think he believes the people who told him the election's not rigged, while at the same time they're arguing, well, Biden didn't know. Right, even though he obviously did know. If I know that Hunter Biden works with Burisma, obviously he knows. Now, if you want to turn around and make the argument that does Joe really know what's going on here is corrupt, or does he think it's corrupt? Right, that's a different argument. Does he think it's corrupt?
He might not know.
Now we'd have to get into his thoughts and mind and know for certain. But on the one hand, yes, they're making that argument against Trump, but then they're using that as a defense against Biden.
Yeah.
So really, just it shows
it's kangaroo court, man. It's insane. Yeah. It's truly wild. The one good thing though is they could say whatever they want. There's no transcript of a call. They only talked about the weather, which was such a bullshit response to get up there in front of all those people and be like, they were just talking about the weather, chewing the shit. The Giants lost last weekend, blah, blah, blah. No, nobody's buying that, number one. They could say whatever they want, but if they actually get to run some type of audit, you can't hide that paper trail of money. That money went from some place to another place to a bank account.
I feel like you probably can, dude. Like again, if they're smart enough to make sure that they don't say the wrong things on the phone, I think they're smart enough also to like cook the books a certain way.
Right, but eventually,
very hard to prove.
Right, but eventually,
money's fungible too. Don't forget.
True. When Biden's bank account went from $100,000 to $3.1 million.
Sure, but okay, let's use for an example of how that could be done, how it could be hidden. Remember how EcoHealth Alliance gave the Wuhan lab a certain amount of money for gain of function research, and it was approved by Peter Daszak, and then Fauci and the NIH gave you EcoHealth Alliance a certain an allowance, and then EcoHealth Alliance gave that to the Wuhan lab. And then the EcoHealth Alliance and Daszak, they made the argument of, well, no, it wasn't. No, I'm sorry. Fauci made the agreement. No, we didn't give the Wuhan lab the money. We gave it to EcoHealth Alliance, who then
we didn't know where it was going.
That's the point I'm trying to make. That money, and to be fair, like that is kind of a real cunty defense, right? Because money is fungible. If I give Bob $20 to buy a sandwich, and he goes out and buys crack, right? He could then and then I try to get like, let's say then he kills somebody while he's on crack, and they turn around and prosecute me for like funding his crack fueled murder spree. Well, I could be like, well, I gave him $20 for food, not for crack. You know what I mean? Like that's
I must be innocent.
You understand what I'm trying to say? So money is fungible. So I could see them if they're slick enough to not ever directly say it on the phone. To actually cook the books and launder the money well enough. I mean,
we'll see what happens because they were dumb enough to take the vice president's son and put him on the board.
Well, no, that was actually really smart on Burisma's side. And if you watch the rest of Devon Archer's his interview, like, no, that was incredibly smart what Burisma did, because when the new government took over in Ukraine after the coup, Burisma and the way things, and like Devon Archer explains how like just the way the world works over there in Eastern Europe, like every company's corrupt, every corporation's corrupt, the whole government's corrupt, and if you're not corrupt, then you're not even in business. And
so you're saying Zelensky's corrupt?
Yeah, of course, they're all corrupt. Putin's corrupt, Biden's corrupt, everyone's corrupt. Trump is corrupt to some extent. Anyway, what Archer was saying here is that you have to get in with the government in this world, because the government just will lean on you, right? Because at the end of the day, right, the government is just a big mafia.
Yeah, the government's going to get paid.
They're just, so And at the time, Burisma was in with the old government. It just got overthrown. So they wanted to make sure that they were in good with the new government. And there was the prosecutor. He was investigating Burisma for corruption, right? So Burisma decided, well, we could try and just bribe the new government that's in charge, or we could just go straight to the source, the puppet master of the new government, which is the United States of America, who at the time, who was the point man in Ukraine? Joe Biden, right? He was the vice president. He was in charge of the Ukraine policy. So they just said, fuck it. Let's not even waste our time with the Poroshenko, pro-Western government. Let's just go straight to the vice president. Let's hire his son. There's no experience in fucking oil or anything like that. Put him on the board. We don't even need to speak. Again, they don't even need to directly speak about anything to do with Joe Biden about business. You just now have the vice president of the United States of America's son on your board. It's a shield from protection. And what ended up happening? Biden pressured them to fire the prosecutor, who was, dude, it's so fucking obvious. The fact that they're not impressive. Like the fact that they're still defending this is wild. But I guess
that's why we're here.
Yeah, people believe it. But again, like there's the phone call of Biden, literally.
If they just started admitting it, we would be out of a show.
There's a recording of him bragging about how he got the prosecutor fired to everybody, and where the he was talking to the 2 Ukrainian guys, and he's like, look, if you guys don't fire the prosecutor, I'm holding up the $1 billion in aid or whatever. And they tell him, hey, you don't have the authority for that. And Biden goes to them, you think I don't have the authority today? He's like, call the president right now. Let's see if I have the authority or whatever. And Biden goes, well, son of a bitch, don't you know that they fired the guy? Dude, even that conversation, that is so mob-like.
Yeah.
Like, hey, call the boss. Let's see. Yeah. Let's see if I got the authority or not to tell you what to do over here. Like I could see the Sopranos haven't done something like that.
Do you have any other clips you want to show, or
not on this one? I have another one. It's 10 minutes. I don't want to get into the weed on 10 minutes. I just highly advise everyone go check out Tucker's his Twitter page and go watch the full. It's about an hour long, so it's like a full podcast. Watch what Devon Archer has to say. It's very interesting.
The 2 things that I was we could just keep simple question. It's funny how Obama's name just does not come up anywhere with this, as if he's almost clean, and I highly doubt he's clean.
He's the best at covering his tracks.
He must be. He must be.
At the same time, like in the Ukraine stuff, his name doesn't ever come up. But
that's suspicious in itself.
Yeah, like I'd gather he had to be involved somewhere. Like, but at the same time, maybe like this is the way these elites carve shit up. Like, look, buddy, Joe, you're the Ukraine point man. Whatever. Like, it's your thing.
I don't know.
Do what you want over there. I'm saying like they make agreements. Like you're gonna do your corrupt thing. You're gonna make your money off this thing. I'm going to make my money off that thing, and we won't step on each other's toes.
Maybe
the things. That's why Biden maybe had the confidence. But call the president. Ask him if I have the authority here to do this. And to some extent, I don't think he was even lying about that, Biden. I think he was definitely given like full authority. Like, Ukraine is your thing. You're in charge of Ukraine policy. Whatever it is you want to do, you have like full autonomy. Maybe to like let's say he just can't, he can't like launch nukes or something against Ukraine, but like he probably had full control over all Ukraine policies. So that's where his bread was buttered, where he had full control over the whole thing.
Yeah, possibly. Secondly, so now this blows up in Biden's face, right? Somebody had said it, I forget where, if Biden doesn't go down for this, and if Trump doesn't get indicted and sent to prison, it's going to be a pretty unfortunate election, because one side is going to focus on all of the opponents, criminal and trials, while the opponent is going to face, Biden's only going to be talking about Trump going to jail and being indicted, and Trump's only going to be talking about, we're not going to hear anything about policy in this coming election.
Michael Malice would make the argument that that's great. They won't get anything done, which is amazing. Like, if they're not getting anything done, they're not fucking us over anymore.
True.
So maybe there's some positive to that.
What do you see as, some type of contingency? This blows up. I don't think we'll see any type of justice for Joe. I think at most he'll, get impeached and resign in disgrace, and it'll all be forgotten. But what's the next play? Because I'd have to imagine RFK has the best poll numbers right now for the Democrats behind Joe Biden. So how are they going to somehow just say, Gavin Newsom, goodbye?
Whatever happens has to happen very soon, before, in my opinion, at least before the primaries start. Yeah, like they can't like, let's say the primaries end, Biden wins, RFK loses, and then something happens and they have to get Biden out of there, and they're like, Gavin Newsom's the guy.
Yeah.
No, like they'd actually be kind of beholden almost to being like, well, RFK came in second place. He'd have to be good. And we look, I don't think they want him.
The GOP nominee just run unopposed.
No, that's impossible, right? Unless it was like,
isn't that kind of the idea of what they're hoping to do with Trump? Get him in jail just in time to run unopposed?
Yeah, maybe. My prediction is that they're just going to roll the dice with Biden.
And keep him.
Yeah, I
keep
think
him
so.
Until, drag that horse across the finish line.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I do think that they are like exercising Gavin Newsom, right? Like just in case, and not only just in case, like it's some good experience for him and like how to campaign for president. Because like, let's be real, like as crazy as all this shit is, like it's a skill. Like you have to like go to certain places, do town halls.
Well, you could just hide in your basement like Biden did.
Yeah. I'm just saying, right? Why do you think Gavin Newsom's doing what he's doing?
No,
right?
because he's getting ready.
You know what I mean? Like he's practicing to a certain extent, and at the same time being a light backup for the deep state against whoever.
Yeah.
So my guess is that it will just be Biden. Everyone's trying to get like real fucking cute about like what's gonna happen. It's gonna be Michelle Obama.
It's fun to think about, man.
It is, but I think sometimes the most practical answer is the answer. So my guess is that it just will be Biden against Trump. And they will try everything they can possibly to get Trump out of there. I even did say in the last episode, I think Trump is going to get in trouble for this one, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it will actually be him, be just them two up against each other. And then I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen from there.
Yeah. Interesting. That will be a shit show to watch them drag that dead horse across the finish line with Biden, because it's only going to get worse.
Yeah.
He just called the Grand Canyon the 9th wonder of the world today.
It's amazing, man.
Right behind Andre the Giant. Grand Canyon. Yeah.
Look, man, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen, but I feel, and everyone on the show knows I've defended Trump. I've also been super critic of Trump. I feel just optimistic for some reason that if he is the guy running against Biden, that he is going to win this time. And again, like everyone's like, no, he's not going to win. It's impossible. It's rigged. It's this, it's that. I don't know. I feel like the emperor has no clothes to a certain extent, where the needle might just be pushed enough over the edge to help Trump win this time. This is why I'm also making the point to this Trump people. He's got to do the debates. He's got to get out there every you guys are saying it's rigged. Like he's got to get out there.
No, he still needs to get out there and voice
case, not against even the GOP guys, just to everyone, right? Like, hey, this is why I was right. This is why you should pick me at the end of the day.
Let me ask you this, though. So he's going to have a very hard time campaigning and going to trial, right? That's the idea, to overwhelm him.
Another reason why he should be participating in the debates right now or whenever it is. Like, don't wait till later when you're tied up.
Fair enough. Obviously, he won't be able to debate the other candidates. Do you think that these trials, because every time he gets indicted, he theoretically gets stronger. Somebody else wakes up to a two-tier justice system. Somebody wakes up to the fishy smell that something's not 100% right here. Do you think that this trial would almost be his campaign if he proves himself innocent? You know what I'm saying? And I don't know how we go about proving an election was rigged. That is way past my ability to, you know what I'm saying? Like, you think this would almost be his campaign?
Like if he wins the case?
I guess, or while he's in the case, this is where he gets to say his piece, show his evidence, show his cards. And
no, I don't think so. No,
okay.
I think my prediction will be most likely, again, like I said, this might be the one that actually gets him, but then at the same time, I don't know. Like everyone always says that. Look, if he comes out of this and he beats the charges, Jesus Christ, like there's momentum behind him now, right? And now he's been proven right, like that they've been going after him abruptly.
Yeah.
Like these are like plus ones on his side. I think that they will reverberate in people, like in the public, and they will end up supporting him, especially if he chooses a damn good vice president like Vivek, someone who's like well spoken, and can appeal like to. It's not going to be.
I like the RFK idea, man.
Yeah, that too, but I think that ship has sailed. Someone actually asked RFK directly last week, and he like outright said no, like definitely not 100% no.
Yeah,
like
I'd still give it time. Let the deep state fuck with him enough, and then see if he changes his tune. Yeah,
we'll see. I'd be honest.
Time
I'm
will
starting
tell.
to like Vivek better. He's younger. The RFK Israel apology tour really turned me off. Not because I'm
RFK's not the best.
or anything
I've
like
tried
that.
to say this.
What's that?
RFK's not. He has. He's a little wonky on the Second Amendment.
Yeah, he has some
Green New Deal
positions.
guy.
Yeah, he has some good positions and he has some shitty ones. I still like him. I still appreciate some of the things he's saying. I think we talked about how like he's good because he kind of gives Democrats like permission to say things that are like forbidden to some extent. But
the food is poison. Yeah.
So he's valuable, but we'll see, man. My guess is the most boring outcome here is what's going to happen.
Just Biden, Trump,
Trump, Biden, and I'm optimistic that Trump will pull it off this time.
Only thing I will correct you on is it's going to be anything but boring.
Okay, fair enough.
It's going to be anything but boring.
Yeah.
All right, so on to let's take a little trip down to Africa. There's a little coup down there.
Sure. So, like, you might be like, well, who gives a shit about what's going on in Africa, right? Well, I think what we're trying to do here is cover things before they become like the news story of the day, and then everyone has an opinion on it.
Yep.
And everyone starts covering it. So it is kind of like major news. But if you're not familiar, in Niger, a real coup happened in Niger, right? What is a real coup? Like men with guns get their guns, get in trucks, drive to the presidential palace, and they say, "Hey, buddy, pack your bags. You're out of here.
You're out.
We're in charge now." So in Niger, a military coup happened. New guy, a junta, takes over control like a military leader. Basically says, "I'm the president now. The other president's out of there." So now, I gather the old regime in Niger was aligned with us, with the empire, and this area of the world is very much so like tied to France and their whole deal, like their currency and stuff like that. So the Angel of Death, as I like to call her, and Scott Horton and others visited Niger yesterday. Her name is Victoria Nuland. You might remember her from such films as Ukraine and the Maidan Revolution. Anywhere in Victoria Nuland ends up going, usually a regime change, war, or coup happens again. So now a coup already happened here, but Victoria Nuland has gone to talk with the coup leaders. And I'll read a little bit here from Al Jazeera, trying to pick a bit of an unbiased news source here for this article. So U.S. diplomat visits Niger to meet coup leaders, push for Bazoum's release. Bazoum is the old president of Niger. Victoria Nuland describes talk with coup leaders as difficult as the U.S. calls for a constitutional order in Niger. Constitutional order. This regime is calling for constitutional order in another country.
In a country that does not follow the Constitution.
So you see here, folks, we don't even have to get out of the title before we see how ridiculous this is. A senior United States diplomat visited Niger to push coup authorities to restore democratic rule after their overthrow of President Mohamed Bazoum last month. Victoria Nuland, the U.S. acting Deputy Secretary of State, said on Monday that she held frank and difficult talks with the military leader Moussa Salah Barmo and 3 of his colonels in Niger's capital, Niamey. It was the first trip by U.S. official to the country since the coup on July 26th. Nuland's request to meet with Bazoum and Abrouhami Tihani,
You're better than me, pal.
Yeah, the self-proclaimed head of the military government, were denied. In a telephone briefing afterwards with reporters, she offered grim assessments of her talks with the military leaders. So they straight up told her no. Like, you ain't meeting with the old president. Sorry, get fucked, essentially.
And it's funny to see how our government and this regime acts when somebody says no. We already know what happens if you said no to the vaccine. We already know what happens when you say no that the election was rigged. So now here's a country that was just taken over and they're being told no. I can't imagine what's going to happen next.
Yeah, like the government, right? Our government's being told no by another little tiny puny government. Yeah. Right. All right. So where are they? They're quite firm in their view of how they want to proceed and does not comport with the Constitution of Niger, she said. It was difficult today, and I will be straight up about that. Nuland, however, reaffirmed her country's commitment to a negotiated solution to the conflict. If the coup leaders are willing to return Niger's constitutional order, Nuland said that the U.S. is prepared to help with that.
Hold on. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Scroll up just a tiny bit. Sure. I want to reread that. Okay, so they mentioned the Constitution of Niger. Okay, so this regime wants American constitutional order restored in Niger, but they have their own constitution that they follow, so they don't really need ours. But the next point is, here is a woman who clearly has some clout over these situations, and she is
Secretary of State.
Yes, she is committed to a negotiated solution. Down here in Africa, perfectly fine to negotiate. But the last thing we're going to do in Ukraine is negotiate. You may proceed. Sure.
This is also related to Ukraine. I'll make that point later. But I also just kind of want to make the anarchist point here of how, like, constitutions and things like that. I was making this point last week. Like, they're just
piece of paper.
Like, and you see how in this aspect, they're talking about, well, the Constitution of Niger has to be honored and respected, and you guys have to follow it. But here in America, they spend every single day trampling on the Constitution. Because why? Because it's just a piece of paper at the end of the day. If you don't believe in it, it doesn't actually mean anything, right? So right now in Niger, these guys have figured that out, right? Like, hey, the fucking paper, they haven't been struck down by lightning. No. They haven't ceased to exist. They don't give a fuck about their Constitution. They just said, look, we didn't like the guy in charge. We didn't like what he represents. We got him the fuck out of here, and now we're in charge. They understand, and they've acted upon it, that power is what really rules, not a piece of paper. Power and people believing in that power. So our guys believe in it too. They just fucking lie to you and pretend like they don't. Nuland, however, reaffirmed the country's commitment. All right, I'm gonna keep going. Earlier on Monday, U.S. State Department confirmed it had made direct contact with coup leaders and stressed for the need for Bazoum to be reinstated. There's been direct contact with military leaders urging them to step aside. Military leaders seized power in a landlocked West African country last month and detained him. Last week, an African regional bloc imposed sanctions on Niger and threatened to use force against the new authorities if Bazoum is not restored to power. But a Sunday deadline set by the Economic Community of West African States expired without any military action. So that's interesting. They kind of got their bluff called, and they didn't actually do anything to try and intervene. Still, the coup authorities called the National Council for the Safeguard of the Homeland shut down the country's airspace in anticipation for a conflict and promised to defend the integrity of our territory. So, like, war.
See, there's no problem with Africa resolving this internally.
Yeah.
But there's no need for America to be involved, as far as I'm concerned.
Right. So my yes, yeah, exactly. Right. So war is brewing over there. There is also, I believe, Mali and Burkina Faso, who are kind of aligned with Niger here. And like, you could kind of see like battle lines being drawn out. Like ECOWAS is really all other like African puppet states of the West. They're the ones kind of threatening them, like, hey, if you don't put the guy back in charge, we're going to do something. Now, Mali and Burkina Faso are like, hey, no, like, we're on the side of Niger here. Like, so you see kind of like battle lines being drawn now.
The alliance and the access.
Yeah. Now it's worth pointing out here who just spoke with Burkina Faso. And this guy, I was telling you before we started recording, let me show a picture of him first, actually. I find this guy so interesting. His name is Captain Ibrahim Traore. He, to me, looks like the most stereotypical Expendables villain ever. Yeah. He's got a knife mark on his face. He's always dressed with the beret, the gloves, tactical watch, the whole thing. He's all done up. So he met with Putin literally yesterday, right? And he also met with them a couple of like a week or two ago before that. So he's now met with Putin like 2 times in like 3 or 4 weeks. This guy.
On se sent en famille en ce sens que la Russie est une famille aussi pour l'Afrique.
Russia's family for
Une
Africa
famille parce
too.
que nous avons la même histoire.
Same history.
Russia
made enormous sacrifices to free the world from Nazism during World War II. The African people, our grandfathers, were also forcefully deported to help Europe get rid of Nazism. He goes on and on. I won't go on here. It's a political speech. He's meeting with Putin. He's kind of like complimenting Russia and Putin. So like you see now why we are interested and involved in this area of the world.
Russia, man, good.
To be fair, like Putin is getting involved as well. Like he sees some dissent, some splitting of the lines here of influence. So now he is going in there and trying to like take the side of some of these African countries, and they're they're cozying on up to him as well. At the end of the day, like you could look at all this shit like, what the fuck? How does it? What? Like who cares? Like how does this actually serve the American people's interest in any way whatsoever? That who's in charge of Niger? So now not only is it critical to my fucking personal interests, who rules the Donbass and Ukraine, but also now who rules in Niger, somehow makes it's important to my existence as a person in Connecticut. Go ahead. What are you going to say?
Well, at the end of the day, it's not for the American people. There's something in Niger that this administration, our government, our CIA, alphabet soup agencies, anybody of these, shadow companies, there is something there that they need. And if they can't get it, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, it could be.
I'm not going to say, sure. I'm pretty sure they're probably all corrupt down there too. You're not in government and you're not in business unless you're corrupt.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? So there's some deal, there's some business, there's something there that is of value to the deep state or the establishment that they're just not going to let go. So we will go to war over it if we have to.
I'm not going to rule that out, that there's like a thing or a resource or something. Africa is very resource rich.
Or a future plan. Who knows?
Whatever. I'm not going to rule it out that there might be something there that's valuable, natural resources, oil, gas, etc. But at the same time, this is just like geopolitical chess. Like, again, we're an empire. I know some conservatives want to like have this idea that we're a constitutional republic and like all the other stuff, they're their own sovereign nations. No, this is an empire. And this is part of our empire, like it or not, right? Not like the empire in Star Wars.
They just don't want to take one on the chin.
This is exactly right. Like that. I'm not saying that there's not any valuable stuff there, but at the same day, like they don't want to lose some land that the empire holds, especially with like, you see these guys, they're commandos, right? Like those are soldiers at the end of the day that could fight for one side or the other. They just don't want to lose any land. They don't want to lose any influence to Putin, especially when they're involved in a fucking proxy war against him, which the whole thing, even with him, is they want to have influence over Russia and that whole part of the land. This is what it is. Yes, there might be a resource. There might be a thing. At the end of the day, the thing is the empire they're trying to preserve. And it's everywhere. It's infected every country.
Oh, there's no corner of this planet that hasn't got to.
Yes, exactly. So, and at the end of the day, they will do anything they can to preserve it. It doesn't have anything to do with your personal interests, like I was saying before, tongue in cheek, at all. We don't in any way like prosper because of Niger and like whatever's going on over there. So like we have no dog in the fight over who's in charge. If anything, like they have a right to self-determination. If they don't like their president because of whatever he's done, they can get rid of him. I don't understand why that's our fucking problem at all. You know, like, so yeah, it's let's keep an eye on that in the future, because maybe it'll turn into nothing, right? But maybe if we get into a larger war, like where are these like chess pieces going to fall?
Well, yeah,
these guys going to fight? I know the Wagner group is actually over there now trying to insert themselves into the situation as well. Some of them.
Well, think of this though. World War III. It's a war of the world. You want all your pieces on the board flying your flag.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Exactly. They could have something to do with that too, right? Like they know we're close to something like that, and it might not actually happen, but like they're again chess pieces, right? Like shit, we just lost Niger, right? And there's like an alliance of countries in Western Africa that's now like against us, against the empire. We got to lean on the alliance of African countries that are for us and try and get them to do something to squash this right now. So keep that in mind, folks, of the geopolitics. Maybe there's not a thing, but there's influence and control over sovereign nations.
And I just want to say, made me laugh when Biden told the general who led the coup, we will withhold aid from Niger, and he said, you know what, we don't want it, keep it.
Yeah.
The greatest way to negotiate with a politician is to just not negotiate at all. Take it. We don't want it, because you know what, they'll probably get aid from Russia now.
Yeah, they will. They are.
Yeah.
I think some Russian planes have landed there to bring them stuff.
There
and not only did he say we don't want it, he said like spend it on your own people and help them or some shit like that. Too.
So AKA send it to Ukraine.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I suggest everyone keep an eye on that. I got 3 tweets of the week here, and I think we'll wrap it up. Captain, 0. You came up with a zilch. That's all right. We
I haven't been on Twitter.
Sure. So I got a tweet here from Jackson Hinkle, and I got to be honest with you, man. I don't like Jackson Hinkle. He's kind of a stooge. But he tweeted in response to Victoria Nuland. He said, "Get the fuck out of Niger, you fat war pig bitch." One made me
go down to
the chef's kiss from the Oregon Libertarian podcast. Yeah, I don't really like Jackson Hinkle. I got to be honest with you. He's like he goes on he's very popular, but he like goes on the news and he's like super pro Putin. Which is like, we try and make the nuanced point. Like, I understand what Putin's trying to do, but I don't think he's a good guy. Jackson Hinkle kind of goes out there and is like, yeah, Putin's a great guy. He's amazing. He's like
my best friend,
the savior of, traditional values and beliefs and things like that. I don't know. I kind of find maybe he really believes that. I find it kind of cringe. But this was pretty fucking funny. I have to admit. All right, let's go on to the second one. Cap, this one is going to blow your tits off, buddy. Get ready for this.
Let me hold on.
This is a video. Hang on 1 second. Let's get this ready. You see this, right?
Yeah.
Can you hear it once it gets going?
Yeah.
So this is from Lord Bebo. And he says, American transgender playing PR, public relations in Ukraine, says Russians are not human. Let's play it for everybody to see.
Do you know the difference between us and them? Besides fighting under this flag and for freedom on behalf of the people of Ukraine, while the Russians are fighting for tyranny and dictatorship? It's pretty simple. We're human, and those guys most definitely aren't. Slava Ukraini. Do you know the difference between...
So, I mean, this is where we're at now. This is where we're at.
I mean, you are made to look at the enemy as a hunk of meat that you're supposed to kill, that they are not human, that they're dogs, but this is just so pathetic that in just by saying that, I trust the Russian soldier more than I trust her.
There's something to be said here, like you're saying about dehumanizing the enemy. Like it's easy to kill someone when you don't think they're human, and they're literally now telling you that they're not human. The ironicness is that it's a transgender person. Like, I'm not saying that they're not human, but like why I think that's ironic is because like this is what we've been saying forever, that's like a shield for the empire, like this woke brand of imperialism. There's that meme of the drone strike on the Arab family where they're like, wow, they say the next one will be sent by a woman. Isn't that, don't you feel like part of history? I feel like that's like this, like for real, like the meme again, it's coming alive. This is actually also, I'm not going to lie, this is so bad. I got to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if this is actually Russian propaganda. I wouldn't be surprised if the Russians filmed this.
That's pretty good way to think about it.
As an inverse 4D chess sort of thing to point out how ridiculous the West has become, because it's just so over the top ridiculous. I'm not saying it is. I mean, maybe. I'm going to say 50-50. This is either...
That might have to be the new background for my green screen. Cut her out and just the Russian guy
Russian guy behind you with the Ukraine flag, So I'm going to go on 50-50 and say this is 50-50.
That's
Russian
pretty interesting way to think about it.
or Ukrainian pro-woke empire propaganda. I really don't know. All right. And my last one is from the omni-liberal Destiny, and he tweets he tweets the Wojak gif, and it says America deserved 9/11, and the Wojak guy says, you do have a point there. America did terrible things that meddled in foreign countries. This was blowback. And then the crying Wojak, where he goes, Japan deserved the atomic bombs, and the Wojak says, oh my God, how could you say that? That was a war crime. The anniversary of the atomic bombs being dropped on Japan just passed, right? And this kind of became a conversation about how like it was fucked up, what was done. You know, like it didn't have to happen. It was fucked up. They killed civilians. I can't believe that. I mean, I guess I can't believe at this point. I need to stop being shocked by this. But Destiny is rationalizing the conversation around how it was justified to drop the bombs on Japan in this weird way where he's saying how we talk about how like the blowback, how like Ron Paul talked about blowback around 9/11. Destiny's trying to compare somehow like the actions of a government and then like retribution being targeted at citizens who are innocent, and that somehow like justifies the thing happening.
Well, because it justifies her agenda. It justifies that, you know, the allegiance to this machine.
It's I know, and sometimes I like things Destiny he has to say, but like where I put, I'm like, you're falsely equivocating the actions of a government with retribution its innocent citizens face. Like, yeah, like I think there's a point to be made about 9/11 that like it happened because of our bad policy in the Middle East. You could read
it happened because George Bush planned it to happen.
Maybe, right? I'm not even going to rule that out, but like you could literally read Osama bin Laden's declaration of war on the United States, and nowhere does it say, I don't like your freedom or your movies or your jeans or anything like that. Like all his grievances are like policy positions and military positions of things going on. And you could make the point where like, well, the blowback was we had bad policy. The blowback ended up becoming an attack that killed people. Destiny is trying to kind of like rationalize the point that Japan deserved getting the nukes because their government's bad policy was attacking the United States and Pearl Harbor and the Nanjing massacre and like all the terrible things the Japanese government and military did. So therefore, the Japanese citizens deserve to get incinerated by a nuclear weapon? No. But for some reason, Destiny's trying to make that point. You know why Destiny's trying to make that point, dude? Because he is like, I've listened to him talk, like he is one of those people who believes religiously in the state, in like the government. He believes in the institution.
That's what I was just saying. Yeah. He has.
So he's one of those people who sees the government as the people. When me and you know, like that's not necessarily true. Right. Like if me and you got assassinated by Putin right now, did I like, because of the war in Ukraine, is that my fault? Like, did I really deserve that because of the war in Ukraine? No. Obviously I'm against it. So it's a bizarre point for someone who actually is usually pretty well nuanced to make, but it kind of shows that he's just a religious
he's beholden to the machine, man.
Yeah, to some extent or another, definitely. So I thought that was interesting. And I'm about to actually go see Oppenheimer tomorrow. I'm
very nice.
Excited to go see
I haven't made it to the movies in forever, so
yeah,
I want to go see Ninja Turtles.
All right, fair enough. You go see Ninja Turtles. I go see Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
All right, right in line with both of our personalities.
Exactly. All right, everybody. Anything else, Gags?
That's it. Sign us off, buddy.
All right, my friends. Doom Nation, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. As always, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. We will see you guys next week with more content. Make sure to stay tuned because we will be reviewing the
Conservative Dad's ultra right 100% woke free American beer.
We'll be having some woke free beer, and it's going to probably taste great. I hope so. But on that note, adios, Doom Nation. We'll see you guys soon.